What do you want to be when you grow up? This age-old question we ask young people is usually meant to evoke their passions or their creativity. Instead, for many of us, it sparks something else. Fear, pressure, self-doubt, uncertainty. Even now, just days away from college graduation, I still don't have a neat answer. And for a long time, that terrified me. I'm 21 years old. I've spent the past 4 years studying something I truly care about. I showed up, I put in the work, and still, no set job offer just yet. No clear next step. For the first time in my life, there's no guaranteed next phase. No automatic schedule to follow. Growing up, life can feel linear, following a path from first steps to kindergarten to middle school, first day of high school, and then college. But then what? There's always been boxes to check off, but now there's only open space. Once we reach a certain point, whether it's in our academic careers or our professional ones, it might be confusing about what the right next steps to take are. It's easy to feel like you're falling behind when there's no map, but maybe that feeling isn't failure. Maybe that's where leadership begins. In the Forbes article titled "The Resilience Factor: How to Overcome Challenges in Uncertain Times," author Holly Corbett describes how, when we're afraid or hurt or uncertain, falling back on our values is an essential touchstone for helping us through struggle and reconnecting with our purpose. Somewhere along the way, we internalize this idea that uncertainty is a problem, something to fix or to outrun. But the truth is, you can't outrun uncertainty. You grow when you don't know. And today, I want to show you why that's not just okay, it's essential. Growth never comes from knowing everything. It comes from stepping into what you don't know and learning from it. There's a concept I came across on the internet recently called luck maxing. It's the idea that you can maximize your odds of good luck by putting yourself in new, uncomfortable, or unfamiliar situations. That's where growth stems from. The truth is, we're always growing. There's a reason they call it growing up. Growth is essential and healthy to take each of us to a higher place. Growth creates leaders. It's messy, it's awkward, it's uncertain, but it's necessary. I know I'm not alone in these feelings. In my Leadership Capstone class, my classmates and I each conducted 3 separate interviews, each about 60 to 90 minutes, with 22 of the most successful leaders we know in the communication field. These were people that we admired and felt like had made it. We used qualitative research methods that we'd been studying throughout the year, and we had many meaningful conversations. As we discussed important leadership traits such as authenticity and vulnerability with our participants, it became clear that even these super successful and strong leaders once didn't know how they would end up to where they are now, and even still, some have concerns for the future. What we found was eye-opening. None of them had it all figured out. Once my classmates and I completed all 3 interviews, we went through our data. We racked through a total of 66 interview transcripts, coded for key terms, concepts, and themes that appeared most frequently or that resonated with us in a particular way. Though there were few codes for uncertainty throughout the data, there were concepts that reflected leaders' struggles and how they adapted to overcome them. Many of our leaders reflected on concepts of failure, authenticity, accountability, growth, and resilience, which were some of the more common codes in our research. All these topics jumped out because of specific quotes our leaders gave us about not knowing what might have happened in a specific instance or at some point in their careers. One of our leaders shared, "I think the positive of failure is that it means you tried something challenging. If you're not failing, you're probably not growing." Another reflected, "I like to set broader goals. I do it annually and I check in quarterly, just holding myself accountable to that." A third leader said that resilience is not letting your issues or your mistakes that you make get you down too much, and being able to realize the sun is going to come up again, and it's going to be a new day, and you'll have a new opportunity to show yourself your worth. These leaders didn't reach success by avoiding uncertainty. They reached it by leaning into it with their values, resilience, and adaptability. When I was 14 years old, I sat in my therapist's office crying because I didn't know where I wanted to go to college or what I wanted to study. I believed that one wrong choice could ruin the rest of my life. Now, years later, I realized this. No single choice defines us. What defines us is how we grow through the choices that we didn't expect to make. Because we grow when we don't know. There's a communication theory that we study called the uncertainty reduction theory. It says that when we're uncertain, we move toward clarity by doing three things: observing others, asking questions, and engaging directly. Global communication expert Dr. Colin Grant points out uncertainty isn't something we ever fully eliminate. It's something we communicate through. Every conversation, every risk, every vulnerable question we ask, it moves us forward. Leadership isn't about knowing everything. It's about having the courage to connect, even when we're unsure. My interview participant was a 54-year-old Vietnamese American woman who dreamed of becoming a doctor when she was a little girl. However, her family couldn't afford to send her to medical school. Instead, she went through college, graduated a semester early, and was recruited to be a financial auditor straight out of school. She did that for a little bit before she transferred into IT audit. Although she quickly excelled in the world of business, she was not passionate about it. It didn't align with her personal values. Later down the road, she merged her business acumen with her passion for healthcare, and today, she's the COO and co-founder of a successful healthcare company. She said, "It wasn't by design. I never thought it was going to happen once Dad said you can't go to medical school. But now, I do believe in destiny, in this grand scheme of things, that you're meant to be." She didn't get to where she is by sticking to a perfect plan. She got there by navigating and growing through uncertainty. The healthcare field is probably the most pertinent real-world example of leading through the unknown. Healthcare faces constant unpredictable change. New diseases, new treatment methods, new patient needs, and new technologies every single day. You can't predict everything in healthcare, and yet the best leaders find ways to thrive anyway. One of our participants shared, "All I want you to do is give our employees extraordinary healthcare. Treat them like you would treat me, with time, with care, and with dignity." Recently, I had the privilege of volunteering with the TEDx Charleston event, featuring local speakers in the area. I got to hear from a variety of local leaders, further inspiring me to do this project. One of the speakers, Matthew Tresco, was a former football player at The Ohio State University who had experienced extensive physical trauma, spinal injuries, and had undergone many surgeries. In his TED Talk, he described the challenges of navigating the healthcare plane as an injured person and how confusing the medical landscape and its jargon can be. His talk favored the utilization of patient advocates. Patient advocates are healthcare professionals dedicated to ensuring that patients understand the implications of the treatments they grapple with choosing between. They're essentially the middlemen between patients and their doctors, facilitating conversations and answering questions to help patients make the best decisions for their health and reduce uncertainty. Teresco was a driving voice calling for a revolution, not driven by certainty, but by collaboration, communication, and humanity. Healthcare leadership teaches us it's not about controlling outcomes. It's about leading through care, adaptability, and purpose, even when the path isn't clear. If you have even the slightest understanding of what's important to you, you're already on the right track. In times of uncertainty, your values become your compass. One of our research participants put it beautifully. "I think it's having a sense of values, a sense of what you want to see. But when you start compromising those values and your integrity, you lose the whole credence of what you're based upon. Essentially, if you don't have guiding principles, you'll end up wandering directionless down a deeper spiral of uncertainty." In her latest opinion piece for Ad Age, strategy director Maria Ragusa discusses what it means to facilitate a professional reroute for yourself. After taking a role as an account manager instead of a strategist at her dream ad agency right out of school, she reflects on the process of coming into a career that she was meant for all along. Ragusa states, "This decision can't be made overnight, and you certainly won't see a change within 24 hours. This is usually a long journey that requires multiple conversations and the determination to prove that you can make the leap. Reflect on what lights you up and what makes you want to throw your laptop out the window. Do you really want to shift? Perhaps you just need to change things up in the department you're already in." She invites her readers to take time and reflect on this. underscoring the resilience and the patience it takes to facilitate real growth for oneself. Jennifer E. Kelme, Vice President in Cultural Content and Audience Development at the NHL and VCU Brand Center alum, recently returned to her alma mater to give a talk about her winding path to success. She discussed how graduating during a recession left a lot uncertain for her career, but how it didn't break her spirit. She says, "When I left Brand Center, I honestly assumed my path to success would be linear. But graduating during a recession quickly proved otherwise. What followed was a journey shaped by curiosity, audacity, and an unwavering belief in the power of ideas." She encouraged students, if you focus on what you're learning, you can make leaps to places you never thought. She also shares her insights about how that translates into leadership. Leadership is not a title. Leadership is a behavior. You can embody that whether you're at the bottom, in the middle, or at the top. Over and over, we hear the same truth. Values and learning anchor us when everything else feels uncertain. When the future is unclear, our values, not our plans, are what guide leaders forward. Growing up, my mom always told me, everything happens for a reason. I used to roll my eyes. I didn't know how to believe her. But now, I understand. Not because everything goes according to plan, but because even when things fall apart, there's growth happening underneath. Every failure plants a seed. Every wrong turn reveals a new path. Every period of uncertainty forces us to listen, adapt, and rise. You might not know exactly where you're going. You might be exactly where you thought you'd end up, but you don't know what's next. You might feel overwhelmed by the possibilities that the future holds. Good. Stay curious. Stay uncomfortable. Stay open. You grow when you don't know. You become a leader when you have the courage to walk forward anyway, even without a map, fueled by your values, your questions, and your heart. When talking about her business's development, my research participant stated, "When you come to a company that grows fast, it's not 100% perfect. Growth is messy. Growth is actually tough when you're trying to do it fast. When things become overwhelming, which they often will, sometimes you just may need to slow down. That doesn't mean you have to stop. It's okay to be afraid, but it's not okay to let that shut you down when what you want to be doing is moving forward. Reframe your fear as fuel for action. When you don't know what's next, that's when real growth begins." Thank you.